Good morning and welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. I'm guest host attorney Lisa K. Crawford in for Lincoln Ware this morning, and he's out on a little R&R, and we'll be back with you next week. We have a great show lined up for you today. Our first guest is Alfonso Cornejo. He is the president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and he's here to tell us about some of the highlights of National Hispanic Heritage Month. And, you know, we have a growing population of Latinos into this community, and we're going to talk about some upcoming events, some very exciting things. Vicente Fox, president of Mexico, is supposed to be here in Cincinnati. We're going to get to that. And then our next guest this morning is going to be about Issue 22. Do you know what that one is? That has to do with the Cincinnati Public School tax levy. And we have the Cincinnati School Board President, Eileen Cooper-Reed. She's here to represent for the tax, and representing against the tax is Victoria Strawn of Concerned Citizens for Justice. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, you know, Halloween is descending upon us, and we're going to have some Halloween safety tips because we have to keep those young ones safe. So fire specialist Tom Donovan of the Cincinnati Fire Department is going to come in and give us some of those special tips for our young ones as we get ready for Halloween. But first, I want to turn my attention to Alfonso Cornejo. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Okay, now you are the president of the Hispanic Chamber.
Correct.
How long has that been in existence?
The chamber has been in existence for 11 years.
Okay.
It's been growing relatively fast for the last 4. However, we're in existence for 11 years.
Okay, and so do you represent a lot of businesses?
Correct. We have close to 300 members.
300 members.
About half of them are business, and about half of them are individuals.
All right.
Of the members that we have, 2/3 of them are Hispanic and 1/3 are not Hispanic. Of the company members is the opposite. 1/3 are Hispanic and 2/3 are non-Hispanic.
So you don't have to be Hispanic to be a part of the Hispanic Chamber?
No.
Okay.
We get together once a month. We have networking meetings once or twice a month. All our meetings are in English, and I'm welcoming everybody to come. It's
a great
an awesome
thing.
event. Thank you.
So what are the benefits to the members?
Well, we have several important benefits in terms of saving health care and the normal things that Chamber of Commerce offer.
Okay.
However, what I think is the main benefit is the ability to network within our community.
Very good.
We have every month we have the 4th Tuesday of every month a networking meeting, and we get together 80 to 100 people every month.
That's a lot.
And I think for our viewers is an important thing. If they want to join us, you'll be my guest. We can attend, and you can sense the energy.
Okay.
Of the group. I mean, we have been told that we have the best networking meeting in Cincinnati.
Well, hey, then people need to check that out.
We give you food for free, and it's awesome.
You can't beat that.
We can't beat that.
As Lincoln Ware says, if it's free, it's for me. Okay, now let me ask you about National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been happening for almost the past month here.
Correct. Let me put things in perspective. We've been celebrating this in other parts of the country with parades and festivals and things like that. In the community, we're growing very fast, but we're not very large.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because it does seem like the Hispanic community, and you have to correct me if I'm not politically correct, should I be saying the Latino community or should I say the Hispanic community? Well,
this is a very good question. We think the term Latino is more encompassing and better. Let me tell you, the term Hispanic was given to us by the Supreme Court. So this is not something that we picked. It was a case, and the Supreme Court decided to call us Latinos, and we're Latinos, but we think that the Latinos, so we're Hispanics, I'm sorry. The term Latino will probably have been much better.
Okay, so you were given the term Hispanic by the court.
Exactly.
But Latino encompapasses anyone with
Latin American roots, which is the idea of the, you see, Hispanics is linked to being colonized by Spain. And we have lots of Latin American countries that were not colonized by Spain, for our Latinos.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
People in Bermuda, they feel Latinos. They don't speak Spanish, but they feel Latinos.
They feel that way.
In Brazil, exactly. I mean, so we have a lot of, you know, people that are not colonized by Spain, but they feel Latinos, you know, like myself.
Well, then I appreciate that. So Latinos, and speaking of National Hispanic Heritage Month, what kind of things happened for the past month?
Yeah, well, we had a series of events. As I said, in other communities like Chicago, LA, this is a big thing.
Okay.
We have parades, we have, you know, festivals, we have concerts, we have the whole thing. Here, we are not there yet, and I think, you know, as we progress, we'll probably have more. But the key event this year was the actor Edward James Olmos. I know that you know him. He came to Cincinnati and he gave a talk in Northern Kentucky University. Okay. More than 350 people show up for his talk. His talk was just incredible. He did another presentation at the Freedom Center, and he comes with a very, very good story, his personal story, of why by giving to the community gives back to you, and you don't even know it. He said that he was forced in LA. He was forced to give a presentation at a high school where he was himself a trouble kid. Okay. He was getting out of trouble. And then he was, by a teacher who attended one of his places, said, you know, will you help me with other students? And I said, well, I'm not qualified to help with other students. I said, well, believe me, you are better than the kids that I have in my class. So he's going around the country doing this, speaking to Latinos, and how is he, what's the message? Stay in school. Latinos, we have something that we're not proud of, the largest dropout rate in the nation. This is terrible. Really? So stay in school and learn, because, I mean, that's the future. The future is an education future. I mean, your value, the value of you will be, you know, how high can you go on education? All right, now there's something really huge coming up here, and we better turn our attention to that right now. It has to do with Mexico's president, Vicente Fox. Past president, yes. Past president. Yes, Vicente. What's going on? Well, we're fortunate. Vicente Fox's grandfather was born, raised, and went to school in Cincinnati. You are kidding me. No. This is something that is, it's a very human story that is just awesome. And for the city, it's going to be big, and it's going to be very, very important. His great-great-great-grandparents, they came from Germany around 1835. They came looking for a better future. They left Germany and they came to America for a better future. Just like a lot of groups a lot of people. Yeah. And their kid, Louis Fox, and I think you have the picture in the studio. The graphics, yeah. He was born in Cincinnati, and he had he was a butcher. In fact, he worked in Cincinnati all his life, and his son. Joseph Fox moved to Mexico in 1897. Why? Looking for a better future. He was fulfilling his American dream in Mexico. So he left America to look for a better future in Mexico? Correct. Okay, well, that's the heritage. I mean, and he went to Irapuato, Mexico, and he worked very hard, and he had a carriage company in Mexico, one of the largest. He was working for a carriage company in Cincinnati. Left here, went to work for a carriage company in Mexico. He had one of the most successful carriage businesses there. Married in Mexico. His son, you know, also is Vicente Fox. Vicente Fox's dad, married. They had 9 kids. 9 kids. So Vicente Fox was the second of 9. Okay. Now, is Vicente Fox, is he going to descend upon the tri-state area? Yes. Tell us about that. Vicente Fox will be here November the 7th. And we're going to have our annual gala of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce. He's going to be addressing, you know, everybody in the community. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. And if you 458-6649 if you want to buy tickets. We think this is going to be the networking event of the year. Okay, and that phone number for tickets again is 458-6649. That's it. Or you can go to since Hispanic Chamber Cincinnati.com.
Okay.
And you can get tickets online also.
Wow. So
But
this
we're so proud. This is something this is something important. We're the only city in the U.S. who can claim this.
Yeah.
Not Chicago, not Washington, not LA.
Good old Cincinnati
This
claim
is exactly.
Fox roots.
And he is regarding Mexican modern history, the best, the latest, we got a relevant element in Mexican modern history. He loves his roots. He thinks I'm part American. He's what he's telling me. We're looking for,
So what do you look for in terms of the motivation to come? What kind of motivation do you expect to get from his speech?
Two things. One, he comes to see his family. We're going to have a private dinner with 45 members of his family.
Okay.
I'm making a joke here, but his family keeps growing. We keep talking, hey, I'm also a relative of President Fox. People are coming, hey, call me. But we're welcome.
And I think it's great. I think when people reach out cross-culturally and trying to learn more about the different cultures, and there's no doubt the Latino community is growing. So again, if you want tickets out there to see former President of Mexico, Vicente Fox, speak here in Cincinnati on November 7th, then call 458-6649. Again, that's 458-6649. And if you're interested in joining the Hispanic Chamber, then you can contact my guest, Mr. Cornejo. And the number, again, that number, 458. Yeah, call that. So you don't have to be Latino to join.
No. And our meetings are a lot of fun. And you will sense the energy of the group. It's something that is invigorating.
I think it's really great. And do you see that cultures work together? In Cincinnati, we have white, we have black, we have Latino. Do you see a growing trend where maybe, say, African Americans and Latinos are working together, or different groups?
Let me tell you, I work in a lot of projects with Steve Love, the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce. We are in several boards together. I think Steve is an awesome person. We can work. We're working in the Banks project. We're working on several projects, and I think we help each other. This is nothing me against you or you against me. I think we're here together, and in several construction projects and several ideas, we're complementing each other.
And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
I thank you so much for taking the time out to come in here and talk with us about the Hispanic Chamber and Vicente Fox, his roots here in Cincinnati. Who would have ever known that or thought that? I mean, without
my
hearing
last comment. Everybody attending the gala is going to get a pictorial book that we're putting together only for this event.
Okay. This is big.
192 pages, more than 500 pictures that he doesn't even know we have.
Okay.
We have him as a baby. We have him, we have his family. We've been working with his family for 4 years.
The Latino community in Cincinnati has to be very, very proud of that connection to Vicente Fox's family through Cincinnati.
Right. And I think we should be. I mean, as a city, we should be very proud that one of our grandkids became president. Yeah. And one of the largest nations in the world.
I think that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think we're going to take a quick break here. Is that about right? We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Issue 22, the Cincinnati Public School Tax Levy. Are you for it? Are you against it? Just how do you feel? Let us know when we come back on Lincoln Ware Live. And welcome back to Lincoln Ware Live. I'm guest host, attorney Lisa K. Crawford. And we all have to go to the polls here pretty soon on November 7th. And one of the things that we have to decide is whether or not we're going to vote for another tax. And in particular, we're talking about Issue 22, which is the Cincinnati Public School Tax Levy. And here to represent for the tax is Cincinnati School Board President Miss Eileen Cooper-Reed, and also Mr. Boyd, who is over the finances for the Cincinnati Public School. They're going to talk with us about why we should vote for this tax. And representing the other side of that issue is Sister Victoria Strawn, Concerned Citizens for Justice. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you. Okay, let me see. Let's see, where do we start? How about 4? We'll start with 4. Okay. Now, Eileen Cooper-Reed, you're the Cincinnati School Board President, correct?
I am.
And you've been in that position for how long?
Well, I've been in the position for 10 months.
Okay.
I've been on the board for 22 months.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, and time goes by so fast.
It feels like I've been there forever, though, I have to tell you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing that I think a lot of the community knows about you is you've always dealt with issues involving children and working for children's rights. And so it's not surprising that you would be a part of Cincinnati Public Schools. But why the tax? Why do we need another tax?
We need this particular tax because, or to pass this particular levy, because we haven't gone for a levy in 7 years. Our last, any new money for 7 years. We went for a levy, the last levy was in 2000, and then we renewed it in 2004. The community was good enough to do that. And this is the first time that we've gone for a tax in 7 years. The normal cycle is 3 to 4 years in urban school systems, and we've managed to stretch it 7 years without a levy. We simply need it so that we don't have to cut any further.
And if further cuts were to occur, I mean, I know that it seems like things are kind of tight now, but where would those cuts come from?
Oh, we don't even want to talk about that at this point in time, although I know Mr. Boyd is busy just in case that happens. Mm-hmm. What we do know is we've cut to the bare bones, and that we don't want to disrupt the classroom any further.
And you think that could be one of the consequences of not passing this current operating tax levy?
There'd be no question that we'd have to impinge on the classroom more than we have, yes.
Okay, and just so people understand that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that may be undecided right now, and they may want to know exactly how badly, is it going to affect the students if voters don't pass it. Right. So why don't you just tell us the whole hard code facts?
Well, there's no way to actually tell you because we're not assuming that it will fail, but we do know we have to cut $65 million out of our budget if the levy doesn't pass. Our budget is $428 million, so it's a pretty good chunk of dollars. I'd like for Jonathan to address that a little more if he would.
Okay, so Mr. Boyd, you're going to talk about the budget itself. Sure. So a $428 million budget, this tax levy would give the school, Cincinnati Public School, another $65 million?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
About 15% increase in our total revenue. Our challenges are that our revenue since 2004 has been flat. As we look out to 2012, it will continue to be flat. So you're talking, without a new levy, about 8 years of no inflationary increases. Our budget in comparison has, between 04 and 12, will increase at about a rate of about 2% per year, which is obviously much lower than inflation. Our challenges are that without any additional money from the residents, because that's the only sources of increases we have, our funding is flat, both state and tax-wise. The challenges become, as we've made cuts, if you can think of our funding process as a platter process, you have the outside layer that supports the district as a whole. The next layer in is the part that supports the classroom, and then the inner part is the classroom.
The most important part.
The most important part. And so as you make cuts, you start from the outside and you begin to cut each layer, trying to preserve the classroom. Mm-hmm. Most of the reductions that have been made so far have been the outside layers and trying to create efficiencies through the closing of schools and bringing more children into one area so that they can be educated less expensively.
Okay, and let me just throw this out for anyone who has a question about the tax. You know, if you have some concerns and you want to get those addressed, now would be a good time to dial 381-3838 to talk with our guests. And we're going to get Ms. Strawn in here to talk about why you should vote against the tax, because that's her position. But going back to our foresight, you know, if you look at some of the criticism with the school board, I've read things that there's been a budget deficit increases over the past 5 years. In other words, your deficits continue to grow, which to some people tend to indicate mismanagement of the school board funds. Anybody want to respond to that?
If I might, there have been no deficits.
No budget deficits?
There have been no budget deficits. Now, where we've had is, again, because of our limited revenue, we've had to continue to make reductions in order to balance the budgets. And today, there is no deficit. But what we're saying is that if nothing changes and we maintain the staff and the program that we have today, we will have a deficit. And by law, we are not allowed to have a deficit. And so we have several solutions available to us. We can make reductions and balance the deficit. We can pass a levy and balance the deficit. We can do a combination of those, or we can do nothing and then let the state take over the control of the school district.
And I think that's what's important, that people understand what these options are. If you don't vote for it, what could happen. I mean, not to scare anyone, but I think it's important to know. So we got to take a quick break. I'm Lisa K. Crawford. This is Lincoln Ware Live. We just heard from the for side for issue 22. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Victoria Strawn about why she's opposed to the tax. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to Lincoln Ware Live. I'm Lisa K. Crawford, attorney at law, sitting in for Lincoln Ware today. And we're talking about issue 22, the Cincinnati Public School Tax Levy. And we just heard from the four opponents, and that's Eileen Cooper Reed, the school board president.
Proponents.
Proponent. Did I say opponent?
That's right.
Okay, sorry about that. And we also heard from Mr. Boyd, who is over the finances for Cincinnati Public Schools. And we're going to get right to Sister Victoria, but if you can hold up for just a second, we're going to take this quick call from Jay. Jay, good morning. Welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. How are you? Jay, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go right ahead with your question.
Well, I wanted to wait until Miss Victoria spoke before I had asked the question, if that was okay.
That is very understandable. I just have to find out how to put you back on hold, and we can get that done. So just
okay, I appreciate it.
Hold on for just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
If not, you might have to call us back. Okay, now, Sister Victoria, Concerned Citizens for Justice,
Yes,
and you say no to the school tax. Why?
Absolutely. First, I want to say and make clear that people understand that I am for education. Our organization is for education. And I think many people who are a no vote on 22 are for education. That's very important. So I don't want to downplay that in this whole dialogue here. But I do think it's important for us to understand that we are being hit many times for school levies. And we got to look at what has happened in the past. And it'll tell you a little bit about what may happen in the future.
And when you say the past, what are you talking about?
I'm very concerned because even the last time we had this levy passed, and even the renewal, we were promised many things that didn't happen. We'd see a decline in school enrollment in the CPS. We had teachers that were actually laid off, some of them permanently laid off. We just didn't see a real accountability in the dollars that were actually spent and how they were utilized. That concerns us deeply. It concerns us deeply. And I think you could tell a little bit about how concerned the voters are because, again, we're seeing higher enrollments in homeschooling. We're also looking at alternative schools. I'm concerned about the fact that we have non-CPS students that are attending these schools. And I just think we need to get more creative in the ways that these schools are funded, not to mention the Ohio Constitution is stating that this is just not the proper way to go about funding schools.
Right.
And I don't think that our school system here are looking at other ways in which other states and other schools are funding their schools. We're just not coming up with creative ideas and ways. And then let's break it down to the dollar. I've looked everywhere and I cannot see exactly where the dollar breakdown is. I'm real concerned because I want to know exactly how much per student that money's going to reach each student.
Okay.
And then how is it going to be utilized for that student so we can have success. But we've got students that are coming out that are not prepared for the workforce at all. They're not prepared at all. We're looking at what we feel is a high dropout rate, which seems to be, that's not under control at all. When you're looking at the dropout rate, we're also concerned about the number of students who, especially the black male graduation rate, and I understand that it is improving slightly, but 34% for the black male graduation rate was the last count. It's not good. And when you look at that rate, that percent, and you compare it to the percent of black males that are going pretty much straight from school to jail, there's a correlation between those percents. Okay, and I'm very concerned about that. So I guess the bottom line is, what are we, the taxpayers and the voters, what are we actually getting, and what is the breakdown? Now, I'm hearing things that this is operational. Does that mean that keeps the school lights on? Does it pay for people's salaries? And I would just say that when we're talking about rate of inflation, I think that would be safe to say that all of us are feeling the inflation. Mm-hmm. None of our paychecks are keeping up with the rate of inflation at all today. And that is why it's more important now that we become very creative about how we fund things. And it just seems as though there's many people coming to the trough and there's very little accountability for what we're getting. When you look at the facilities master plan, let me just give that example, because we're going to be almost 3 decades into paying for that. We're still paying for it.
You mean the construction tax levy that from 2003?
To build the schools, to build the new schools. And then we found out later on, oh, well, we found out the school enrollment wasn't as much, so we're not going to build as many schools as we projected. So that concerns people too.
So is your main argument that it doesn't seem like there's accountability for the dollars?
There's absolutely not enough accountability for the dollars when we're breaking it down into exactly how much money goes where. And then people want to know, if we're saying that it's for kids, then we want to know how much dollar per dollar is going to the children. Okay. And for programming that's going to improve the lives of the children that are attending these schools and coming out. But when you look at, again, people are searching for alternatives in education, and that's why you're seeing more homeschooling going on. You're seeing more charter school enrollments. And I hear people say charter schools aren't doing that good. That's not the point. The point is that people are looking for alternatives because they're dissatisfied with what they're getting from CPS.
And I'm sure that the other side has a response or would like to respond. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take this call from Jay. Jay, you've heard both sides of this issue now. Yes, so what do you think?
Well, what I think, I tend to go along with Victoria as to what she was saying also, that there's no accountability per child. And then also the other question that I would like to know is that I recently found out that some of the money from the school come off the top for the charter school, and it's so much money per child. But what happens when the charter school closes up and the public school has given this money to the charter school, and when the charter school enrollment decline, where is the money at? How come the money is not returned back to the public school system?
So you're still on the fence right now. You haven't decided what you're going to do regarding issue 22, correct?
That's true, because it's very scary right now. Years ago, when the other two superintendents was in, we had the money to finish the schools, and everything was fine. And I don't agree with laying off teachers. If you lay teachers off, how can your child want to learn anything?
Let's ask about that. Thank you for your call, Jay. I really appreciate your call this morning. What about that? You know, just the fact that there were teachers laid off. Do you want to address that, Ms. Reed?
Yes, I sure do. Because many of the things that Sister Victoria has talked about, I actually agree with. The funding for our schools come from two places. They come from the state and they come from local property taxes, by and large. By and large. 4 times the Supreme Court has found the funding formula unconstitutional at the state level. We should be able to rely on the state to fund the majority of education. That is not what our legislature has done. So that's who you need to hold accountable for the way schools are funded. There is no way for a school system to go and raise money, although we do get significant grants.
And you just can't have enough bake sales to take care of your operating expenses.
$428 million, you can't possibly.
That's a lot of cupcakes.
Now we have wonderful grants like the $20 million grant from GE that is helping us on a 5-year period look at our math and science. But there's no creative way to fund schools. Schools are funded by the state and local property taxes. What needs to happen at the state level is they need to stop having us have to rely on local property taxpayers.
And how do they do that?
They do it by changing state legislation and by taking control of the state and spreading the tax burden across all of the citizens of Ohio, not just property owners. That's right now it's purely on property owners and not everyone.
Okay.
And so other states do it. Ohio can do it. There's nothing that the local school board, however, can do about that.
Well, give us a good model. Give us a good model, a state to look to where you're going to more than property owners.
There's Delaware, there's Connecticut, there's Illinois, I believe. So there are a number of states.
So these are great models out there where people are taxed in general.
It simply takes the political will to change it. The Supreme Court has found the funding formula unconstitutional 4 times. Let me talk a little bit though. So understand that is not something we have any control of over whatsoever. You know, we can't just find money. The money comes from the taxpayers across the state.
So why were teachers fired?
Teachers were not fired. Teachers were bought out or terminated because when you have 20,000 students, you have a workforce that supports 20,000 students. If you have 10,000 students, you cannot have the workforce that supports 20,000 students. So as there has been a decline in enrollment, you have to cut back. You can't, the school system is made to educate children, not to employ teachers. That is the primary way children get educated, so we want to have a good quality workforce. But you can't just hire teachers if you don't have the students to fill the classrooms.
And Sister V, I'm going to let you respond to that, but what's the ratio of students to teacher?
It's just changed ever so slightly. It's about 18 to 1 in the lower grades, if I would, and then because of a money saving thing, we've gone up to about 25 to 26 per classroom in the higher grades. You know,
okay.
So just that was negotiated during the last labor negotiations.
Okay,
with
so
the
22.
No, 26,
20.
about 25 to 26.
25 to 26, okay.
And then if it gets any larger than that, then there's a classroom overload that kicks in, or you get an IA, an instructional assistant, to assist you. You know, and so that's the way we've had to do it in order to keep us being able to operate. So what we're talking about here is purely operational funds. All these dollars are supposed to go to the students, in the sense that everything we do ought to be about educating the children of CPS.
Right.
But the other piece is we pay for the charter schools. So when you look at the $428 million, that includes the charter schools.
So that's what Jay was saying.
That's what she was saying. That's state law. There's no other way we can do that.
But you get money back into your coffers if a charter school fails, and we got to take a quick break. I know that, but can you answer that real quick?
Not unless the child comes back.
If the child
dollar
comes
follows
back.
the child.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break. This is Lincoln Ware Live. I'm Lisa K. Crawford, guest host, and we're talking about issue 22. We'll hear from the against side again when we come back right after this. Lincoln Ware Live. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Lincoln Ware Live. I'm guest host, attorney Lisa K. Crawford, and we're talking about issue 22, and we'll have to decide at the polls on November 7th whether or not we want to vote for a school tax levy. And again, I want to thank my guest, and Victoria Strawn is here representing Concerned Citizens for Justice. Before the break, we heard from School Board President Eileen Cooper-Reed and Mr. Boyd, who explained the finances. Now we're going to go back to you and hear from you, Ms. Strawn. I mean, you heard some compelling information from Ms. Reed, Mr. Boyd. What's your response to what you just heard?
Again, I still have not heard numbers in terms of exactly how that dollar reaches the student. And I think when we're talking about money, we have to be very serious about it. We need to get down to brass knuckles and look straight at the numbers. So I could tell each homeowner that has a home worth $100,000, you're going to be paying almost $300 a year extra in taxes. Now, what I would say to the renters is that means your rent may even go up because of that, because they're going to eat the cost somewhere. And so we want to make sure that we're getting a good return on our dollars, and I just don't think that people see that with the declining of the school population, as we mentioned before. So I would just urge people to do their homework. This is very hard, I think, for the voters, because we're talking about the education and the well-being of our school system, but I think there's some real breakdowns that really need to be looked at, and if I'm not mistaken, they can actually review this and come back by, I think, March of 2008 to begin to work to put it back on the ballot. And I just think in that period of time, they should go back, look at what they have, and come out and roll out some numbers and figures and let the voters really see where that money is going.
So educate the voters a lot more.
I think we want to see the dollar breakdown, because that's a lot of money.
If I might briefly, one of the challenges we run into is by delaying it a year, we lose a full year's collection, so that's $65 million. Because we lose a year's collection, and because then we subsequently pick up another year's expenditures, instead of ending it at 11, we go to 12. As a result, the millage requirement increases substantially, well over 14 mills.
So then that's more money to the taxpayer.
So the longer we delay, I mean, the mathematics, while school funding is complicated, mathematics is simple.
Okay, well, let's go to the calls and let you be the judge here. Go right ahead. Is this Ward? Ward, good morning. Welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. Go right ahead with your question quickly, please.
Okay, well, my question is just about the schools that are being built. I mean, I understand that the school population is dwindling, but we continue to see the new schools, along with the new construction with the houses and the new condos and things. It's, I think, going to be unaffordable for us, for our kids to stay here to afford these, go to these schools. But my question is, will these schools stay open after hours for the residents' usages? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. What about that real quick?
One of the things we have significant after-school programs. Since the after-school network that's run by the YMCA, they work directly with CPS in terms of providing after-school. But I think even more than that, we promised the voters that we would establish community learning centers
that the
community will also have.
Yeah.
We need to tie the community back into the schools in a very real way. We're absolutely dedicated to that.
So that does still need to happen on a greater scale. You
That's
agree?
right.
All right. Thank you so much. Is this Lisa? Lisa? Okay. Lisa, go right ahead with your question. All right.
No, this is
Go right ahead. What's your name?
Donna.
Oh, sorry about that, Donna. Donna, go right ahead with your question
Okay,
quickly,
good
please.
morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like to ask the question. I don't really know, but when a child is homeschooled, removed from the public school system or charter school system, does that money follow them to the home?
Very good question. What about that? Does the money follow the charter school kid to the home, or from Cincinnati Public School to the home if they're homeschooled?
It does not.
No, because the state charters school systems and separate schools, and it has to be, in order to get state dollars, you need to be chartered in some form or fashion.
Okay. All right, Donna, I hope that answers your question. Caller, go right ahead. Is this Jane?
Yes, it's Jay again. Good morning again.
Hey, Jay, go right ahead quickly, please.
Miss Crawford, Miss Cooper, what I wanted to ask you, you said that when the child leaves the charter school and goes back to the public school, the money is followed. But how do you know if the child is not back in the public school, where does that money go? That was my intent question. When the child leaves the charter school, that the public school money is there, how come that money is not returned to the budget? And are y'all keeping an update, and are you having the charter school give you some type of report? Because let me say this, and then I'll get off the phone. Because at one time, there was a charter school that was here that assumed this money from the state and closed down, and then there was another one that did not have the right amount of people there. They was falsifying the information. So how do we keep a check on charter schools to make sure that this money is used on the kids that are supposed to be there? And if they leave, why isn't that money returned back to the public school system?
Thank you. Thank you, Jay, again. We'll go ahead and see if we can get that answered this time.
It is the state that monitors. It's the state that charters charter schools, and it's the state that monitors charter schools. So So the dollar still follows the child. We are not going to get money for a child who is not in our system. So there is a per pupil charge that follows the child, and depending on where that child goes, as long as it is a chartered school or a public school system or a voucher system, that dollar will always follow the child. It does
Bottom
not
line,
come
the
back.
child has to come back into the Cincinnati
Yes.
public school system
Yes.
for you all to get it. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Hello,
Hello, what's your name?
my name is Chuck.
Good morning, Chuck. Go right ahead quickly, please.
Hey, real quick, we're talking about, my concern is the tax levy. And what I'm concerned about is we got people moving into the city, which is good. And there's these 15 and 10-year abatements that they don't have to pay no taxes.
True.
Tax burden is on us as homeowners to take on the burden of these increases. And I think the city council or somebody needs to address this also.
Okay, so you're saying because of the abatement, you understand this point?
Absolutely.
What do you understand?
But
him saying?
that goes in part with why the state of Ohio, the Constitution is saying that
Exactly.
by funding it through taxpayers, it allows this disproportion. It's imbalanced. It's not it's not a
Right.
fair thing. So
Right.
it falls on some hard, and it creates gaps in education and so forth. So he's exactly right.
Is that your concern, Chuck?
Yes, it is. And like I said, right now, people are losing their jobs. Let's put it like this. With Cincinnati, we got buildings being torn down. We got displacement of people all over the city.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And right now, who can take on the extra tax burdens?
It is a lot. It is a lot we have to think about. It's a tough balancing act. I do agree with you. But thank you for your call this morning.
All right, thank you.
All right, keep listening or keep watching. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, 381-3838. And who do we have here this morning? Is this
Tony.
Tony, good morning. Welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. Can you go ahead quickly with your question?
Okay, first of all, I had a question. Initially, was the Ohio Lottery created to help the schools too? And I had another question about, we have problems with funding the schools. Why is it like our president, he can fund a war so many billions of dollars or millions of dollars a day just to keep it going, but we can't get any help with the school system?
Now, Tony, you know we're going to need another hour for that topic. You know this. But as far as the lottery, initially it was part of that was supposed to go to this public school funding, correct?
What I find interesting, the income tax, originally when it was passed, those dollars were going to go to schools. The lottery, when it was originally put in place, that money was going to go to schools. And then we found out it didn't. People sued the state of Ohio. So now the state gives the lottery money to the schools, but they give us less income tax.
Right.
So see, they're going to limit how much they give us one way or the other.
It's all about budgets.
It's all about
And
budgets.
it's all about the state. So I'm a property owner. I understand exactly what folks are talking about. There's no question.
Everybody
that-
just jump in here real quick because we're almost at
well,
the end of the
that
segment.
the burden is on the taxpayer.
Yeah.
We don't have any other alternative, unfortunately. And I agree, we need to be as accountable to this community, and the community needs to call us into question to make sure we are being accountable.
And Sister Strong, go ahead, make your final piece before we go to break.
Again, I'm a no vote on it, only because, again, we need the accountability. We need to know where the money is going and how it's being spent. We need to spend responsibly here, and I just don't think our money has been put to good use, and accountability hasn't been forthcoming with previous levies.
Well, I tell you what, I want to thank you all for coming in, talking about both sides of this issue. It's a very delicate issue. Everybody cares about the children, but the bottom line is, can we afford the taxes? So thank you again to Eileen Cooper-Reed, the school board president, to Mr. John Boyd?
Jonathan
Boyd. And your title with
I'm the treasurer CFO.
the treasurer CFO of Cincinnati Public School.
New, by the way.
New. Well, congratulations on that. And then also, thank you, Concerned Citizen for Justice, Ms. Victoria Strawn, here to represent the other side of that issue. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about Halloween safety tips, because ghosts and goblins are going to be descending upon us next week, and we have to watch out and protect them. Right back on Lincoln Ware Live. Welcome back to Lincoln Ware Live. I'm guest host, attorney Lisa K. Crawford. And in this last segment of the show, we want to talk about some Halloween safety tips, because whether you celebrate Halloween or not, you got to know that there's going to be some little ghosts and goblins and superheroes who are going to be descending upon our streets and neighborhoods this coming Wednesday, October 31st. And so to help me talk about some Halloween safety tips, I have Fire Specialist Tom Donovan of the Cincinnati Fire Department. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a very limited time, so I know you have made this list. You want to educate people who are going to be out there with children. So what do we need to know about Halloween safety?
Well, first of all, we want to just make everybody aware of Halloween safety. We don't want to ruin the holiday for them, but we want them to try to think twice before they just jump into things. Try to make sure that you only purchase costumes, clothing, wigs, etc., that are fire retardant or fire resistant.
Okay.
You really don't want to send your kids out running around the neighborhood with some billowing, hanging decor that's going to be flammable.
Okay.
There's another big issue. When you go up to houses, you'll see these small plastic pumpkins or paper bags. A lot of times they'll have a candle in them. We're not recommending putting candles anywhere. The kids the clothing that they have could brush against them, and it's just a bad situation. So stay away from the candles.
So no lanterns on the porch and things
No.
like that. And if you do, can't you use a flashlight?
You could use a battery-operated device. There's a website where you could find a flashing light to put in there, but I would stay away from candles in general.
Okay.
I would also, if the children are old enough and they have the availability, I would send a cell phone with them and send them in groups.
That's smart.
Things are changing, and children are a little bit more aware of taking care of themselves. Some people take advantage of Halloween as a holiday.
Okay.
Dried flowers are an issue. Watch those. They're very, very flammable. And keep the exits in your home open so that when people come in and out, not just for trick-or-treating or the holiday, but for Halloween parties and everything that goes along with that, keep your house open. Unfortunately, there are a number of fires around Halloween, and maybe we can slow some of that down.
It would be a good time for people to change batteries and smoke detectors, fire.
Absolutely. You could use this
alarms.
holiday as a time to change the batteries. The smoke detectors are very reasonable and accessible, and batteries are cheap, so we highly recommend the use of the home smoke detector.
Now, what about reflective clothing? I would think generally it'd be a good idea to wear something reflective. Kids dart out in between cars, don't cross at the crosswalks, and I mean, drivers have to be careful too.
Reflective clothing is a big plus. The kids are excited. They tend to run. They need to stay in groups and try to make your child as safe as possible when they leave the home, because they're going to be out on their own for the duration of the trick-or-treat part of Halloween.
Right. Or an adult, I would.
Absolutely.
Haven't you read where in some cases if the children are under 12, there should be an adult present anyway?
There should be an adult with them, because like I said, things have changed. Halloween, some folks take advantage of it. They should also not really take any homemade candy or unwrapped candy.
Yeah.
That's something that they should be very aware of.
That's a very good point. I remember when I grew up, some people would pass out popcorn balls, and they would wrap them in saran wrap. Anything that was homemade, generally, we were told we had to dispose of it.
Right.
So I think that is something you got to be careful of as well.
That's a good rule for the holiday, to stay away from the homemade things. Send a flashlight with the child if you can get one. I mean, they have inexpensive flashlights. They're small. You can just take them with you and use them to guide themselves around. I mean, sometimes they'll wear a mask. It's loose fitting. We've had situations where the child, went into the wrong home or went here or there or whatever, because their peripheral vision is impaired and they can't really see what they're doing.
Good point, Tom, because I've read some things that people these days probably should consider face paint instead of masks, because remember, the old masks that we used to use, we couldn't even breathe out of them.
Right.
We could barely see through the eyes or the mouth, but these days face paint is probably a good thing too, huh?
Absolutely, that would be better. Like I said, we want to keep the Halloween a good holiday. It's really become more festive than ever. I mean, adults are well involved. A lot of the bars, restaurants, nursing homes everyone's involved in Halloween.
What are you going as?
Well, I think I'm going to go a civilian.
As a civilian?
Because,
you're going to take off your
I've
uniform?
I've been in this uniform a pretty long time.
How long have you been with the fire department?
42 years.
That's a long time.
And I've enjoyed every year of it.
I gotta take this time to thank you. We're almost out of time. Thank you for watching Lincoln Ware Live. Thank you for coming on. Fire Specialist Tom Donovan with the Halloween safety tips. It's been a real blast. I'm attorney Lisa K. Crawford. If you need legal help, call me at 513-651-4222. Lincoln Ware will be back with you next week here for Lincoln Ware Live. Thank you so much again, and stay tuned. More programming on WBQC.
Thank you.